One, two, three.
Welcome to the YouTube channel of liverpoolmusic.com. You can hear but not see myself, Mike Steele, and in our nearly new interview section, I'm here this evening with familiar looking strangers. We had to get these guys in before we take over the world. If we make a start by just, for the uneducated, if you want to introduce yourself, starting with Vinny, who you are and what you do.
Well, you've just said it. Yeah, I'm Vinny, I'm the lead singer.
I'm Paul, I'm the guitarist.
I'm John, I'm the bass player.
I'm Ben, I'm a quick fit fitter. I'm drummer.
I'm Carlos, I'm the other guitarist.
Okay, I asked through the site for people's questions and I've tried to squeeze in as many as I can. I know we'll come on to the here and now a little bit later, but if we could start with the origins of the band. How did Familiar Looking Strangers come to pass and whose idea was it and so on?
Me and Paul hooked up first, I think, didn't we? And, we were both in separate bands. Well, all of us really have all been in separate bands throughout the years. We've probably been on the band scene for about 13, 14 years, something like that. I think we've probably known each other's abilities at that stage, you know, knowing what kind of music everyone was into. And then somewhere along the line we've sort of parted our previous bands and formed this new band of Familiar Looking Strangers.
How long ago did the Familiar Looking Strangers first ever be together? I know Ben's quite late on the scene, but when did we first get together as a group?
We've been together over 4 years now. I think Ben's been in a band for about,
just over a year.
Just over a year. Within that year we've done quite a lot now. We've been over to America. We've released an EP. We're ready to go back in the studio in November and do our second EP. Gigs down in London. So yeah, we've done quite a bit. We've been really busy since Ben's been in the band.
All down to him, I'm sure, Ben, yeah?
Oh, of course, yeah.
The last year, as you say, everything's kind of snowballed, I know, but how would you describe the early days? Was it with the exception of Ben, was it the four-piece together quite quickly, or?
We've went through a lot of changes, man, over the years. Like, there's been strangers who've come and gone. Our little joke with me and Vinny say, maybe they weren't meant to be in it or whatever. They didn't have the bottle to hang around or whatever. But I think everything's down to fate in a way. We met Carlos through our first drummer, Louis. And he was a cracking guy, and we weren't meant to be in a band, but Carlos was. So that was a little story in itself. And then obviously me and John have played in bands before, and yeah, when we hooked up we just had the idea of trying to write good music really, and forget about all the pretenses of being in a band, and that's what it was about. And then eventually we formed into a band, and that's where we got our roots from really, was just trying to write good tunes. Like,
you've got all your Skylarks and your Fireheads and all your other bands all coming together and taking the good bits, I suppose. And Carlos, you've come from, obviously you're from Madrid and you've come to Liverpool, and was that a music thing? Was it somewhere you...
Yeah, that's why I came here with my mate, as Paul said, and yeah, that was the idea, to find like-minded musicians and form a band and get a project going.
And if you were to sort of pigeonhole it, can you describe the Familiar Looking Strangers sound in any particular way? I think it's fair to try and do that.
I think, as Paul said, it actually is, 5 strangers all together in a room and writing real songs from the heart really, and trying to put them across that way as well. And I think if we can look like we're enjoying ourselves on stage and put it across that way, I'm sure then there'll be fans out there who will appreciate it and want to follow us.
What's the songwriting process? Is there a number of you involved, or is it, you all come to the table with your own song, or?
Yeah, I think we've always sort of been open to the idea of anyone coming in with a tune, but mainly it's me and Vinny who do it, because I don't know whether we're the only ones who can be arsed doing it, or we put ourselves through that much mental torture, but it seems to be me and him, yeah.
And calling it torture, Paul, is it a long process, a song?
It can be, mate, yeah. Often you'll have a fucking melody hanging around your head for days and days, and you can't get it out or whatever, and other times, as Vinny will tell you, they just fly out. And I think it's down to being in a certain, having a certain feeling, whether you're depressed, happy, but it's got to come from somewhere, and that's it really.
This is the part where you bring it into the band, and that's trying to get 5 people to trying to lock into what is in Paul's head or Vinny's head, and trying to get that across as, that takes weeks in itself. Songs don't just appear overnight.
There's 2 parts of it really. There's writing it yourself, or say me and Vinny might get together and write it, and then there's introducing it to the band. As Ben said, that's an ordeal in itself, because everyone's got to bring their own little thing to the table and make the song sound good, and yeah, it's quite interesting.
I think not only understanding the music, I think there's a good lyrical content within our music, and I think there's definitely got to be dynamics added in that point within the music, and I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else, any of the 4 lads so.
Yeah. We seem to all have a good understanding of each other and know where we're going to go, and and how we do want it. It's just a case of we're our own biggest critics, so we nitpick every last finer
I guess
detail
you're
of
lucky
it.
if you've got 5 people who are on the same wavelength like that, because you can always have, I'm sure it's happened before, you've got that person that doesn't fit in, and that's why, as you say, I suppose it can be a fake thing.
Well, I think with our previous exploit as well, like, I mean, it was really hard when I was young to develop, really, because when you're in a band, you've either just got one songwriter, and you know, and I think when you've got this burning desire inside as well, and you want to move on, and it's not happening, and you know, I think meeting all these lads, it's sort of everyone gives each other space to breathe as well, and you know, share them things together, so it's been great.
One of the questions I got from, what are they called? The fans, the viewers, the listeners, or whatever they are.
The strangers.
The fact that to watch you perform, you can tell that the songs have got a resonance and they mean a lot to you, particularly your hand gestures, Vinny, were mentioned a great deal, such as lay down your guns and so on, so it's not your throwaway lyric, it is actually something that when you're performing it's from the heart quite often. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean,
or are you just
you've got to make your audience believe what you believe in, and I think, you know, you've had your Joy Divisions and you've got your Jaggers and everything else. I mean, these artists obviously make the audience believe in what they believe in, and I think you know, whether you play with your kicks hanging down or you know, your balls hanging out or whatever, if you believe that the crowd's going to think it's good, you know, so, you know, if I swing my arms around my head, you know, it's not that I've just come out of Chester Zoo, like, but it's just trying to put it across, really, my message.
Yeah. You've got to try your best to make the audience want to be in your band.
Yeah.
It's a story as well, it's like a book, isn't it, but some music. So you've got to act, you know, what they see on stage is like if they were watching a film and you're just creating a soundtrack to it.
It feels to me like there's no better moment to have another track than the balls hanging out sort of analogy, so at this stage,
Don't walk away, 'cause I do believe
Okay, so we talked before about the band as is has been together for around 4 years, but I think it would be accurate to say that the last 12 months has been the big one when things have really started to come together. When did you first notice that, hang on a minute, you know, we may well be onto something here?
For me, I think Paul had come in the studio, in the room, the practice room, with a lot of kick-ass songs really, and I think it was the American point, wasn't it, when we it's the tide turns really when we got invited over to America, and I think it sort of put ourselves into an immense amount of pressure, because the promoter over there was like, you know, if you're over here you're going to have to be playing like 2 hours worth of music a night, and we were like, oh fucking hell, have we got 2 hours worth of material, which I knew we had, but I didn't, you know, whether it was stuff you were putting into the American market, you know, we just didn't know. But Paul come in with a lot of these, as I said, kick-ass tunes, and it just, I think that was it for me. I don't know about any you.
I think the American point was, I mean, we felt it before, but the American point where, especially, they turned around and said, everything's paid for, but you've got to get your own flight. So
how did you get approached then for that? How did you?
We done a gig in the Cavern
on a Tuesday night with about 5 people in the audience, and one of them was this fella from America.
Yeah, so we were in the rehearsal rooms, and we just sat down and went, this is how we going to get $5,000 together. We all looked at each other, and there wasn't a pot for us to
reach for the shotgun, the balaclava.
Yeah.
So I mean, we just went, like, we're going to have to go into the local boozers and go and do the unthinkable and go and play our own songs in these pubs where people want to hear Mustang Sally and all that palaver. But so we just went, right, we're going to have to do it. So we just gigs and gigs and gigs. We were rehearsing all in work in the day and then doing that in the night, and we just got tighter and tighter. When we actually played in America, it just, as soon as we landed there and done the first gig, it just all, it's like a jigsaw, just all fitted in together and just exploded from there for me personally. Like,
one of the nicest things has got to be, I'm sure, having seen yous, I don't know, 7 or 8 times maybe over the last year, the critical acclaim from an audience, which is pretty consistent now all the time. You'll share a bill with someone and it'll be familiar looking strangers on people's lips and so on. Is that something that happened overnight, or?
I think, yeah, like Ben said, I mean, we had to come up with the idea of where we're going to get this money from to go over to America, and you know, we had to go onto the pub circuit. But I mean, I wouldn't say we were a covers band in any stretch of imagination when we went into that circuit, because we went in with our own songs, and I think that was the eye-opener really, that we were playing our own music in these pubs that, you know, in the mid-weekend. Fucking people loved them, and people would be like, you know, whose song are you playing there? And like, you know, it's our own material, and I think that you know, drove us well, it got us through. It got us through that process really to get that money together, because I think if we would have went into that pub circuit and had to play covers, I don't think it would have happened, because it's not in our hearts, and it's not the kind of band we are.
I think when we come up against other bands, I mean, I'm horrible to them, a lot of bands just don't work hard enough at the finer details, and they just think you can walk into gigs and, you know, it's all this X Factor thing of sit in your bedroom all year and just go to the audition next year. We've all learnt our trade, and we work real hard at it, to the point where we end up nearly killing each other because we're working that hard.
A compliment that did get levelled on an email which came our way a couple of days ago was, I'm glad the band don't have to play a cover gig anymore, and they've got there on their own music, but in that time when it was happening, you'd throw a cover in and it would just fit alongside your own music, and you wouldn't really think, oh well, I can't wait for the cover at the end, you know.
I think it was being probably obscure cover really that you know, people of this generation wouldn't really be up on. I mean, we do a cracking version of the Allman Brothers Whipping Post, and you know, probably a lot of people in the UK wouldn't have heard that track. I mean, I'm sure you know, your rock solid blues artists and all that, and you know, they'd all know that the Allman Brothers are, but the kids of this generation wouldn't, and can appreciate it.
So more recently, you've done the US tour, and I've seen the videos, and we wouldn't mind the diary the next time you go out there, I'm sure, for the site and so on. But you've done Oxjam, you've played that recently.
Yeah, we just got
that was Saturday night.
Yeah, got back from that. Yeah, it was really good. Again, you know, I think the lads had just said, going into a bar and playing your own songs is one of the hardest things you can do really, because people have never heard it before, you know, and they're a bit bewildered by the whole thing, but to go in and just smash it and get a good reception and get people warming to you instantly is a boss vibe, because you straight away you think, well, I'm on a winner here, like, you know, and it keeps you going. But when we do play proper venues and all that, you know, it's a different kettle of fish again, because I think that's the level we should be at, like, and I think it's the level we deserve to be at, really. But yeah, the Oxjam was like that, you know, again, going down there, no one had really heard us, but we had a great reception, and, you know, we opened up some doors down there as well, which was cool.
I think we've been invited back, haven't
Well, we have, yeah.
5th of November, back down there, but I mean, it's going to be a private party for a PR girl down there. I'm sure there'll be some interesting people that we can meet down there and network as well, so.
The very fact to be asked back though, because I know the Oxjam gigs, you'll have half a dozen bands you're sharing a bill with, won't you, and to be cherry picked in that way, and they want you back to the private party and so on. I mean, closer to home, I know you've just been included on the first Cavern Records, as a Cavern Records Presents and so on. How did that come about?
It was, well, I think it was Paul, you got a call, didn't you, or a text message off obviously the promoter or the guy who was setting it up. I think the Cavern Records have come up with the idea of opening their own record label. I don't know how far into it or how successful it's going to be, but we thought, well, you know, it's a great promotion for the band. So we were invited to put one of our tracks onto the CD, the first Cavern Presents CD, and it seems to be going down really well. It's been spun on Radio Merseyside several times over the last week. So, you know, it can't be doing us any harm promotional wise.
Quite a mix with the other bands. It's an eclectic collection of, I suppose, the Northwest biggest at the moment. You know, yourselves being up there and so on. So, would you say you've had the best gig? If there's a best gig that stands out?
Best gig, you know what, mate, there's tons of them, like, I mean, the ones in the States were really good, like, they were quite memorable, like,
yeah, I mean, I say the first one we got over to the States, for me personally, where every other guys think, like, I think that was like the pinnacle where you sort of turn around and go, shit, I'm in America anyway.
I think there's all different, everyone takes things different. I mean, for me, our actual first gig with Ben, he joined the band, going back last August.
It's only I've been in about a week, haven't you?
I've been in literally a couple of weeks, and we went down to the Isle of Wight and we had a gig in a mad festival called the Hawk Fest. And for me, that was the gig for me, because I could hear this sound that we'd all been looking for, and we found it at last.
Mine was the Newport Shores, like, where I don't know, just seemed to lock into the moments of it. But I mean, I enjoyed all of them, but it turns out at the end of the gig, and the knuckles about 3 times the size, broken hands and stuff like that.
I think that's the hardest thing. When you're a band of our calibre at the moment in Liverpool, and obviously we've got no record companies behind us at the moment. Everything's walking into bars and having the trust of the sound engineer that's there, and sometimes some people just catch it. I mean, you know, sometimes we can walk into the room, the rehearsal room, and you'll be on top of the world, and it'll just come out like natural, you know. And some days you can walk into bars and it'll be like that, or a venue or whatever.
So I know there's a new EP coming soon. Have we got dates and so on for when we think that'll be ready?
We're going to the studio on the
November
18th, the 18th of November. So I think we're going in for about 10 or 12 days, something like that. And then we'll rest our ears, get back in December and maybe get the thing mixed. And then master for January, and hopefully done by January.
Yeah. In the shops for January.
And fans who've liked what they've heard today, whether they've seen it before or whether they want to check it out for the first time, where can we see Familiar Looking Strangers next in the near future?
Gigging wise, or?
Yeah, gigging wise.
Well,
Sheffield on Friday.
We've got to do like another little acoustic gig in the Harbour Bar on South Road, but the big one's going to be I think it's Thursday the 22nd in the Blues Bar in Crosby. That's going to be the final big Christmas party. 22nd of December, yeah. So, you know,
anyone who is listening, if they just keep a lookout on our website and that, familiarlookingstrangers.net, you know, they'll be able to keep updated with future gigs. But as Ben said, you know, we're going in the studio and we are a little bit busy, so we'll probably concentrate on the blues bar in December and anything else that we can squeeze in. But yeah, just keep a lookout. Yeah. And while we're on that, we'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone as well who comes down and listens to us and, you know, eggs us on.
Yeah, loyal followers and stuff like
Much
that.
appreciated.
Would we have a final message, or do we leave it at that?
If anyone needs the whole painting, calls your man, like.
If anyone fancies a jar paella, just come down to Carlos.
I'll sort it out.
Don't ask him to drive your car, bless you.
1, 2, 3. Well, I can still remember, oh so well, the day we met, the moment that I fell. It only seemed like yesterday when Cuba's herald flew away and shot us down to the tune of sweet romance. How was I to know there'd be no second chance? Didn't know there'd be no time for one more dance. Could not help but break the rules and fall in love like such a fool and ruin it all by saying what I'd said. She was the queen of the ball, standing 6 foot tall with her head shining like a rainbow and her face lit up all the room like flowers in full bloom. She took me to was surprised she didn't decide to look at me. There was something in her eyes that I could see. Well, I ain't never been the same since that cold November rain. Ever swam like a sailor lost at sea. She was the queen of the ball, standing 6 foot tall with her hair shining like a rainbow and her face lit up all the room like flowers in full bloom. She took me to the moon, yeah, let's go to the moon. And not a sip to my try to ease the pain. Take another trip down memory lane. Not a single day goes by I don't sit on the wonder why. Still looking for the girl who ran away. She was the queen of the ball, standing 6 foot tall with her hair shining like a rainbow and her face lit up all the room like flowers in full bloom. She took me to the moon. She was the queen of the ball, standing 6 foot tall with her hair shining like a rainbow and her face lit up all the room like flowers in full bloom. She took me to the moon. You afraid to discover, or surprised by how you feel. If you decide to uncover, never notice it's for real. We can hide this thing forever, keep it locked in our hearts. We could love one another if it ever got that far. I know that sooner or later you'll call tracks, no memories. We could slow dance in the fast lanes, do what hell ever please. The love that brought us together, it was only gonna tear us apart. Too good to last forever. Could have told you right from the start. 'Cause I know that sooner or later you go back to being a stranger, won't you? I know that I'll be no danger to you. But I know that sooner or later you go back to being a stranger, won't you? I know that I'll be no danger to you. So let's hide this thing forever. Keep it locked.